Minnesota Vikings fans, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. Hey, I know you guys can't see me. I'm having some computer problems right now, and for some reason, my webcam is not working. But that doesn't matter, because I have Adam Carlson and Kyle Smith, who you guys can see in full
That's
HD.
not a great thing.
In full HD glory, 1080p, Adam Carlson.
I'm overlighted and just ready to roll. Oh.
You are basking in the glow of the Minnesota Vikings.
I just wanted to say this is the 212th episode, I believe, and I finally have a logo. So better late than never.
There you go. I like it. I like it a lot. But yeah, this is 212. I called it Hall Pass. We probably already had one called that because we've had enough Hall of Fames, and I like that movie, and I've probably done it already. But you know what? We're doing it again if we have. So here it is.
I'm so excited that there's a movie that I actually know about. I'm so bad at that.
My references
I got that
usually
reference.
aren't that great.
I understood it.
Sometimes they can be a bit out there, and I'm went with something a little more popular, you know. Try to keep things relatable anyway. But let's jump into the quick hits because we do have stuff to talk about this week.
We have so much. There is so much show.
Yeah, that's what happens when we let it go a couple extra days and football season's coming up. We got the Hall of Fame stuff going on. But let's start with a contract extension. This is one that not a lot of media outlets reported on because, let's be honest, it's a long snapper. But Kevin McDermott getting a 4-year extension to be the Vikings long snapper, to me, is really good. You want that consistency on special teams. And to me, it's important to have that kind of situation together. We saw that with Leffler, Locke, and Longwell. Or not Locke and Longwell, but you know who I'm talking about, Pony Boy.
Chris Cluey.
There we go, Sparkle Pony Boy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's good to have that kind of continuity, and with me hearing that Jeff Locke has been tweaking his approach to punts, the Vikings released an article about that as well. Special teams sounds like it might be getting its act together a little bit better, which is a good thing considering punting and kicking has been a bit of an issue in the past.
If you guys seen Kevin McDermott at Walmart, do you think you'd recognize him as a Minnesota Viking?
110%.
Nope, just not at all. But that doesn't mean that I'm not excited to have him sign a 4-year contract extension with Minnesota. My thoughts will mirror Adam on that one. It's good to have that continuity between your 3 special teams players, your core guys. So I like it.
He's no Jared Allen at long snapper, but he's a keeper.
To be honest, I don't think I'd recognize anyone other than Adrian Peterson or Teddy Bridgewater. I'm horrible with faces. Horrible. Faces and names, awful. Now, if they spoke, if they said some words, I'd probably recognize them if I've heard them talk before. But faces, names, I'm awful.
You know what would happen with me? I would notice him, and then I would be too shy to go up and ask him.
What?
I know that's Trey Waynes right there, but I don't. What do I say? I don't want to be that annoying guy who asks for a picture. Like, hey, I've never met you before. Stand behind me while I take a selfie.
Selfie
He's
time.
sitting there having a meal with his girlfriend, and you come up, I need a picture with you now.
Yeah.
While you're eating, can I have some of your mashed potatoes? Can I share? Can we share a plate?
Oh, people, I tell you, crazy.
Don't do that. Don't be that person. Don't do it.
The Vikings also signed another player, running back Steven Monangai, I'm going to say. I have not heard it pronounced.
Monangai.
It looks like I think you said Steven. I think in the notes it says Kevin, but I forget what team did he come from?
Kevin Monangai?
Kevin.
That's what I'm reading. I'm sorry, it might have been changed, but where did we get him from?
Philadelphia, I believe.
We signed a guy who's not going to make the team. Can we be honest here for a minute?
The running back competition is really stiff, and Kyle West pointed out a guy that I like, and a lot of the other media guys are liking. C.J. Ham's putting on a pretty nice little show down there.
Yeah, I was up in training camp, and I had to text Adam. I didn't have a roster sheet in front of me, and I was like, who is this running back? And that's when, he said, hey, that's C.J. And I'm like, this guy is looking really good in camp. Like, he's looking quick. He's making good cuts. He looks fast. Yeah, that's someone to watch for in preseason.
Absolutely. So Kevin Monongai here might be a camp body at best.
Mm-hmm.
But for these guys that are on the fringe of being in rosters, these are their opportunities to shine, get seen by other teams. And to be honest, we're not going to see Adrian Peterson much, if at all, during preseason games. So bringing in a couple extra guys to help shoulder that load because McKinnon ain't going nowhere. We're not going to see the bowling ball going anywhere. Matt Asiata, he's sticking around. So let's call it what he is. He's a camp body, preseason body, evaluating, maybe practice squad if he can beat out C.J. Ham and some of those other guys, but it's going to be tough. We'll see, though. We'll see.
Competition breeds success.
Hey, do you guys remember back when the Vikings had Percy Harvin and you'd see him lining up on both sides of the offense? He'd go in the slot. Every once in a while, he'd even line up in the backfield and was just all over the place?
I do remember, Adam.
Well, it sounds like that might be how the Vikings are going to use Stephon Diggs in this offense. Now, Charles Johnson has reemerged a bit. He's been a reliable target for Teddy Bridgewater.
He looked good in camp.
He's been looking real sharp. This is actually the first year that he's had a full season under his belt with the Vikings. He's got a little bit more established going on.
He's healthy.
100% healthy because he even had nagging injuries when he was playing before. And I am really excited to see how that works because, let's face it, Diggs doesn't really have what most people would call the size to play on the outside if you're not going to be a burner. I mean, if you're not shooting 9 routes constantly, like your Steve Smith or something like that, you're going to want that bigger receiver that can make plays down the field. Well, Diggs can still stretch the field, but he can do it from the slot. He can do it against slot corners. And then if he sees a mismatch out on the outside, they can move him on the outside to have Charles Johnson move inside. They're going to work this around to get advantages in the positions in their favor. So having this kind of wide receiver talent isn't something the Minnesota Vikings are used to. Back when they used to do this kind of stuff with Percy Harvin, they didn't exactly have great talent around him to help distract the plays on the field. So it'll be interesting to see how Diggs is used, where they use him, how they adjust him. And I think it really could pay off for the Vikings if they can find a way to do that and maximize his potential.
I know this quick hit was about Stephon Diggs, but this was borderline one of the things I was going to talk about for maybe a bold statement. Charles Johnson's getting a lot of buzz. Like you said, he's healthy. He had the whole season last year, even though he played a little bit. He had the rib injury, but we focused so much on Stephon Diggs because he was the number one guy last year. Mike Wallace was terrible. Now we replaced him with Laquan Treadwell. You always have Rudy as a good, red zone target. Charles Johnson's kind of the, dare I say, the forgotten wide receiver because he had to sit out last year. So I really think he could be the X factor. I know we want Laquan Treadwell to just come out and have 1,000 yards. I know we want Stephon Diggs to get 1,000 yards, but Charles Johnson coming back is a game changer. And it's also, if you look at the depth chart, it's also the biggest surprise to me. I know you have an X and a Y, you have your left and right side of the field, but he came out and established it straight over Cordero Patterson, straight over Adam Thielen. He's been mentoring Laquan Treadwell. I think Charles Johnson could be the X factor, even though I know, like I said, this was a Stephon Diggs quick hit.
And let's be honest, Treadwell is one hell of a worker. One of the first on the field, one off the field. Diggs constantly working to improve his craft. You've got Adam Thielen, who is one of those guys that grinds constantly, always feels like he has something to prove.
And Adam Thielen can play so many different positions and fill so many roles on this team. He's such a versatile player. You need him to play outside, he can play outside. He can play inside. He can play special teams, whether it be returning punts or kicks. He can be out there on, we've seen him on fake formations, whether it be a fake punt or a fake kick. He can run down the field, and he can be a gunner, and he can make a tackle. Adam Thielen is just such a versatile guy. I just love the role that he plays for the Minnesota Vikings. What I like about our receivers is we have a lot of talent that all do different things. They all complement one another really well. the skill set that Stephon Diggs brings to the table is different than Laquan Treadwell, which is different than Cordero Patterson. And it allows you to move these pieces in and around on the offense for the team.
If I'm being honest right now, the odd man out is Cordero Patterson, and it sucks because of how much talent he has, the athleticism he has. But right now, every other wide receiver on the roster is working circles around him when it comes to football. Now, I'm not doubting that Cordero Patterson's doing great as far as working on his cardio and his athleticism, that sort of thing. But when it comes to the game of football, there is just a lot of concern still, despite what we've been hearing about him working hard, about what he's working on and how it will translate to the game of football.
That's the biggest thing, too. We think Jarius Wright, I mean, not even 2 years ago, he had a game-winning overtime play. We can't leave him out of there, too. He much reminds me of a mixture of Percy Harvin and Stephon Diggs. But I agree with you totally. If you look at last year, too, 6 wide receivers. I don't really see them keeping 7. Every spot is so crucial. You're right, Cordero Patterson, I don't think he's going to be cut because we need him in the return game, but he is the odd man out.
The return game will save him, and the fact that he was a first-round investment, I believe the Vikings really want to see it work for him because they would love to be able to, not even though we just got done praising Charles Johnson, I think if the Vikings' best-case scenario is that if Patterson could, overstep Charles Johnson, I'm sure they would love to keep him based on what they have invested in him. So I think he's got one more year to prove it for this team. But if he doesn't work out beyond special teams contributions, he'll be gone after this year.
Did you check out the first unofficial depth chart for the Vikings?
Yes, I have it right here.
They got Patterson rolling with the 2s.
Actually, they have Patterson / Thielen, I believe. Right?
Oh, yeah,
really odd. Right.
That, to me, was really weird when I looked at it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I would like to know what that means.
I have no idea what to think about it. I don't know.
I try not to read. I try not to read too much into.
Think about too much.
Mm-hmm. But if you were going to, I mean, who are you going to keep, Patterson or Adam Thielen? I just spelled out what Adam Thielen does for this team on many, many roles. What does Cordero Patterson do? If I had to straight out pick between the two, I'm picking Adam Thielen right now.
Every single time, and I got into not an internet war, but I got into a debate with someone on Facebook, on some NFL page about it. They want to get rid of Adam Thielen and bring in Mobo, and I'm thinking, Mobo has done absolutely nothing for anyone yet. And I have nothing against Mobo. I love his story, and I think he's a very good athlete. But he hasn't played it down in football for the NFL yet. Adam Thielen has done so many things for us.
Over on the Viking Age, my co-editor, Dan, he wrote an article about how if Mobo can show that he can play special teams during the preseason, Thielen might be on the way out. But I think he's really understating how much Thielen can contribute in different ways.
Yeah, I was
playing special teams isn't as easy as it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
I was going to save this for, I'm going to do a little bit of a training camp recap here in a little bit. I was up there over the weekend. But since we're talking about wide receivers, I'll just throw in Mobo here for a minute right now. And I'm going to start out by saying that I got the dude's autograph. I bought his jersey. I'm a big fan. I love the story. But I'm always going to give you guys the truth and not try to let my fandom interfere with that. And when I was watching him up there in practice, he looked lost on the field. You could tell he was running really wide routes, and he was having to come back to the ball. He made a few catches because he's a big guy, he's speedy. You can see the potential, you can see the talent. But it's not, in my opinion, he's not there, which, why would you think he would be? He's coming in. This is all new to him. Like I've said all along, if Bowinger can make the practice squad for the Minnesota Vikings, he's won. That is a win for him. To expect any more is ridiculous because, like we just said, Adam Thielen does so much for this team, whether it's playing outside or inside or special teams, that to think that a guy that came from the German Football League is going to outplay him is just, in my opinion, completely ridiculous and is not going to happen. That's not. I will put money on that not happening.
Fan expectations are way too high for him. Way too
Yeah, and
high. We had the same thing
I'm
with Babs, the same exact thing.
I'm legitimately wearing his jersey right now, so I am a fan of his. I want to see him succeed, but you have to temper expectations and look at what's realistic and who are your best 53 that you're going to put forward in this season. And you pick Adam Thielen 10 out of 10 times when you compare the two receivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we will talk about Shamar Stephen, defensive tackle. Finally healthy, missed a lot of last year with a big toe injury, has been rehabbing, and he showed up on the depth chart right below Linval Joseph for the nose tackle spot, which is kind of amazing considering the job that Kenrick Ellis did last year. This just goes to show the depth on the Vikings' defensive line, how good they are at accumulating that talent, and how much Mike Zimmer places emphasis on making sure that they can disrupt things up front. Shamar Stephen was a guy that a lot of people just completely forgot about. I'll be honest, I completely forgot he was on the roster as soon as he got injured.
I did too. I totally did too, Adam.
I've just been hearing him working so hard, dominating. I'm going to be watching him this preseason. I am, and I'm really excited to watch him play because if they can keep up getting that defensive line whipped together, it's going to be great times in Minnesota.
We're getting closer to having that rotation that we've heard so much about. That Zimmer really likes to do is have that rotation on that defensive line, and yeah, there's another big piece of the puzzle that's coming in.
We got some folks starting to file into the podcast here. Caught them a little off guard, but they're getting here.
Who do we got in the chat, Adam?
Right now we got Scott chatting.
Hey, Scott.
Scott Schwab.
Going on,
He said
Scott.
he was on his motorcycle and he's got the notification that we were on, and he's on right now.
Dedication, man. Thank you for listening. You guys mind if I steal this next quick hit?
Have at
Go
her.
for it.
So, my favorite player in the NFL ever, and one fantastic, hell of a guy coach, went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame this past week. Brett Favre, the enigma, the gunslinger. Why are we talking about him here? Well, he spent 2 seasons here, one we could all forget about, and one that was incredible. And Tony Dungy as well. Had to give him a shout-out because he did play at Minnesota, the University of Minnesota. So I just want to throw that out there. Hey, Favre had a very short tenure here. He will be remembered for his years with the Green Bay Packers. He did win a championship there. Mostly all of his numbers were there, minus a fantastic statistical season, and also peaking at 500 touchdowns for a quarterback with Minnesota. But the cool thing why I wanted to steal this quick hit is a lot of people were upset about this, and I think it's just hilarious. In his little area in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, he has a Green Bay jersey to the left and a Vikings jersey to. So that caused a little bit of a ruckus amongst some of the internet waves, but I think it's funny. I think it's. I don't understand why it's in there either, but I think it's funny that it creeped its way in, and whatever.
It's the jersey
hey, man,
that Favre wore when he broke the consecutive starts record.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
So when your Packer fan friends are saying, "Hey, that jersey doesn't belong to be in there," they're saying that because it's purple, not because of what it represents.
Here's a fun question of the day. I never ask questions. You guys should get this really quick. Favre threw 508 career touchdowns, which is crazy to say. I believe that's second all time behind Peyton Manning. Can anybody tell me who his 500 touchdown was to?
It's Randy Moss.
Randy Moss against the New York Jets.
Of course.
And
come on, Randy Moss is my favorite Viking of all time. Of course I can tell you that one.
I still remember it like it was yesterday. They rallied. They were coming back. They ended up losing the game. That was the horrible season he had lose, but that was so incredible. And the moment when just running around like he's 25 years old again, that was a good time.
You talk about Favre magic, and that was that was not a good season for Minnesota, but that game in particular was not going the best. And then just all of a sudden he was able to connect with Moss, and a little bit of that Favre magic came out right there, and they were able to rally a little bit, for a couple series. I don't remember. Did they lose that game though?
They did.
That was against the Jets, right?
Favre had 3 touchdowns in that game, which is incredible because he had 11 touchdowns on the season that year. It's
Yeah.
terrible, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah, that Favre magic
But
goes
speaking
both
of the Pro
ways.
Football game, the game got canceled. What do you guys think about this?
At first, I was really frustrated because I wanted to watch some football.
Hmm.
I'll admit that I'm having a hard time getting excited for this season, and I don't know why. I should be so excited for Vikings football. The team's good, new home, new hope, great coaching, awesome young players. I should just be thrilled, but I'm not. I'm hoping that when I finally get a taste of some action, it'll all just come rushing back to me. That's what I'm hoping. Come on.
Well, in the Eastern Standard Time, it is Thursday, so technically, where I'm sitting, tomorrow you will get that chance to watch the Vikings.
Hmm. I wasn't really too bummed out about it because I was up in Minnesota for training camp, so I wasn't going to be watching the Hall of Fame game anyway. I was out doing other stuff. So when I seen it on like Facebook or whatever that it was canceled, I was like, why was it canceled due to paint? I've never once heard of a game being canceled because of paint. What the hell?
I don't even care. It's funny that Green Bay got shitted out of one game. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny too.
Packer fans are trying to look at it on the bright side, saying at least now they don't have an extra preseason game for players to get hurt, and I get that, I do.
Solid point.
It's a good point, but man, that football action, even though it was the Packers, I wanted to watch it. I was ready. I cleaned my house, got all my chores done, got all my work done. I was sitting down, getting ready to watch some football, and it didn't happen, man. Not cool.
Access denied.
Moving on, we got Blair Walsh getting a call from Gary Anderson, having a 1 hour long pep talk. When I say pep talk, I guess I mean chat because, they're both he's a former Viking, he's a Viking, they're kickers. They both had some situations that weren't the best, I'll say.
I'm a Viking, you're a Viking, you want to go out for lunch?
Yeah, let's get some biology sometime.
I think that
Yeah.
Gary Anderson, you just think of one specific time in his career. He was awesome. I think that it's cool that he called him. I think that he probably gave Blair a ton of words of encouragement. Like, hey, man, don't let this bother you. I would have loved to do that.
Do you guys feel sorry for Gary Anderson? Because Gary Anderson had an amazing career as a
Totally.
Viking. Yeah, but everyone just remembers him for missing that field goal.
He's like Bill Buckner.
Yeah, it's just that one negative just overshadows. Oh, by the way, he went all season long without missing a single field goal before that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and I know that sucks that he missed, but come on, we had other missed opportunities in that game. That was not entirely Gary Anderson's fault.
My laptop says I have 17 minutes left of battery life, so I'm going to keep moving this along here.
You better plug that shit in, Adam.
I was thinking that too. I was like, man, this is going to be a long episode.
Adrian Peterson lost an appeal with the NFL over
Yeah,
his
we don't care.
suspension.
Move on. Skip it. Move on. 17 minutes. Whatever. Go.
He has to pay back $2 million in salary. The new headquarters had the ground broken. They're going to partner with Twin City Orthopedics for the new facility. It's going to be an awesome blend of a training facility as well as a headquarters. I'm really excited to see it go in, and Twin City Orthopedics is going to have stations in there to allow some of the state-of-the-art medical stuff to go in there and take care of the team. I like it.
Sweet. Go get you some purple sunglasses or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
I do like sunglasses
Mm-hmm.
at night. I wear them.
I want to give a quick shout out real quick. I know you got to do some battery talking. Vikings Gab just tweeted at us.
What?
Hey, Purple People Pod Live, I highly suggest it. Great Vikings info and talk from real guys with the link. So Vikings Gab, thank you very much for the shout out.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to us.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, they're good stuff too. Check them out for sure. Big fans of them. If you like Prince and you like the Vikings, you're going to love Bridgewater's line call. You may remember Omaha, or what was Aaron Rodgers' call? It was a really weird one. But either way, you guys know what line calls are. You've heard Omaha enough that you know what it is. Well, Teddy Bridgewater's been yelling "Purple Rain" for his adjustments, and I
Has
think
he
that's
really?
awesome.
I didn't know that. That's amazing. That's so cool.
I
love
like
it.
it a lot. I am a Prince fan, so yeah, I absolutely dig it.
Huge Prince fan. That is awesome.
I got to see the big Prince painting at US Bank Stadium. It's cool. It's super cool.
Absolutely. Alex Boone doesn't sound like he's a big fan of Terrell Pryor. Apparently, during their time together in college, he knocked Pryor's ego, and he's actually still surprised that Terrell Pryor is still in the league. So,
If you were to give me $5 right now, I couldn't tell you what team Terrell Pryor plays for.
he's actually a wide receiver now.
On what team?
Cleveland, I believe.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, hey, good for him. He's making a living.
Wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. Verified.
Verified.
Adam Thielen got into a little bit of shoving match with Adam Jones at the Bengals-Vikings joint practice.
I like it.
Pac-Man.
Battle for Adam supremacy. Neither of them's going to win. I mean, good luck to them, but you're both going to lose.
I like the intensity from Adam Thielen, though, because you always think of him as such a nice guy and such a humble guy. And I like the fact that he was like, F you, Adam Jones, and got into a shoving match with him. Like, good
Let's
for
be honest,
you.
Adam Jones will fight with anybody.
Yeah. I like the
This is
fact that Thielen fought back, though.
Absolutely. Mike Zimmer took the Bengals coaching staff out for some ribs, and I got to be honest, I can go for some ribs right now. I'm a hungry guy.
I can go for some ribs, too. That sounds good.
It's been a while since I've had
but I'll
something
take
like
that.
Gotta happen. So our main topic this week is that the Vikings will be playing in Cincinnati on Friday, week 1 of the preseason. It's going to be our first chance to see a lot of these players in action. I'm really excited to see this happen. I'm hoping that it can jumpstart me into just getting fanatical about the season. And I made my list of the 5 things that I want to see over on the Viking Age, so check those out if you get a chance. I'm going to be doing some more stuff, maybe some matchups or preview stuff tomorrow, because there's a lot going on this preseason and training camp for the Vikings that needs to get panned out, and it all starts right here.
I am looking forward to seeing what happens with the wide receiver battle that we talked about earlier before, so I don't need to really go back into that. I think there's some good competition that's going on there. I'm looking forward to seeing the safety battle as well as what's going on with corner. Terrence Newman has been injured, and he's been, in my opinion, kind of beat a little bit in training camp. You're seeing him get burned a little bit. Maybe age is finally starting to catch up to him. So I'm interested to see what kind of strides some of the other corners can take on this team and see if they're able to edge out the veteran or if he will be able to make it back. I'm also looking forward to seeing what exactly goes on at the center position for the Minnesota Vikings. And I realize this is only week 1 of the preseason, so you're not going to get answers really at any of these just yet. But those are all places that I am kind of looking forward to seeing how they shake out this camp.
What are you watching for, Mr. Smith?
I wanted to see Trey Waynes, like you guys said. I wasn't there like Kyle was, but I'm hearing nothing but, hey, he's starting to show that he gets it. And I wanted to be excited for the safety battle, but it looks like Andrew Sendejo has pretty much secured that up from what I'm reading on the depth chart there. And we talked about this offline, and for all the people listening or that are going to listen, we haven't heard anything about Michael Griffin. I was kind of hoping that we would hear something about him. Maybe
They played him at corner during the first practice against Cincinnati because they were banged up at the position. So yeah, they played him at corner.
Huh.
Yeah, because Newman was out. Yeah, I know, right? That's an interesting little fact that I wanted to bring up.
Very cool, very cool.
Mhm.
How about Joel Stave? You guys want to see what that guy's got?
Actually, yes, I do. I'm
Might as
interested.
well. Heineke decided to just Goldberg the door in this season.
Shockmaster right through it.
Oh, there's a deep cut, Adam.
For your wrestling fans out there, they'll love that
That's
Shockmaster
a
callback.
good one. That's a good one.
Oh, that's horrible.
This is a good
So
time.
horrible.
This is a good time for a public service announcement, kids. Don't sweet chin music at door, especially
No.
if it's made of glass.
It's a
Don't
bad
do
idea.
that.
It's a very bad idea.
Are you guys loving the joint practices between the Bengals and the Vikings as much as what I am right now? Because even though they've only practiced just today as of this recording, I really like it. I think that's good because this time of camp is usually when offense versus defense have been going against one another for this length of time. You start to get pushy and shovey against your own teammates, and you know who you're going up against. So it's not really, I don't want to say competition, but you've done it enough times that it's you know tendencies and stuff. So I really like the fact that they're broke up. They're against another team. They're against a good team. You're testing some of our corners up against A.J. Green, who's a damn good receiver. I like it. I like the fact that they're playing Adrian against another defense. And even though, they're being respectful against one another, I can just tell from watching the videos that there's a higher intensity because the Vikings want to represent Mike Zimmer against his former team. And I'm just really liking this setup, and I hope it's something that they can continue on, for another couple years. I think it's good for them. I think it really helps us get ready for the regular season.
I don't see any negatives to it at all. I like it a lot. I think they should do it more often around the league. Obviously, you don't want to give away your playbook to another team that early, but I think, like you said, the timing of it, perfect.
And
Absolutely.
training camp is also, I don't want to say you're not working on the playbook, because you're working on the playbook, but what they show to the public is really a vanilla version of what you see. It's what they do when they move on to the practices where they're in their practice facility, when they're game planning for a specific team. That's when they're working more on, like, the nitty-gritty part of it. Does that make sense to you guys?
Well, I'm going to go turn my camera off for a second and grab my cord, so I'll be right back.
Awesome. Me
Yeah.
and Kyle Smith will keep talking a little bit here about the Cincinnati, and maybe we'll go into training camp here a little bit. But yeah, I like the competition between the two teams. And I like the fact that we play them in preseason week 1 as well too. They're very evenly matched. I don't know if you've had a chance to go online, but you can see the highlights from both teams' perspectives on the websites for each team, and it's interesting to see. You watch them on the Vikings website, and it looks like the Vikings got the best of them, and then you go over to the Cincinnati website, and it looks like Cincinnati got the best of the Vikings. So they're really evenly matched, and it's just a fun competition, and I enjoy it.
My biggest thing, like you said, when you say the Bengals, I automatically think of A.J. Green. I'm not really sold on Andy Dalton, even though he had a good year last year.
I'm an Andy Dalton
but-
fan.
We can get into this too when I talk about my bold statement here in like 10 minutes, but I think of A.J. Green, and I wanna see what he can help our team out with as far as Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes. I doubt that Mackenzie Alexander would get up against him, but if they needed to, he gets some experience, and that's like the number one thing. We have good receivers in this. We don't have great ones. But A.J. Green, in my opinion, is a top 5 receiver. So, when you can play against somebody like that, you can really see what you need to improve on, where you're at right there, and then and there. And I think that's perfect. Plus, Mike Zimmer, was there for a long time, there are still pieces of his defense. He's only 2 years removed. There's still a lot of players and a lot of elements in that defense that are there. So our defense is already good. And then you have the Cincy defense, which is also good. You know, playing against Teddy, getting to do stuff like that is really nice. By the way, you guys remember when we played Cincinnati last time? Mike Zimmer was there, and they destroyed us.
Oh, yes.
That was not a fun game. That was a good old Matt Castle at the quarterback.
But I love the connection between these two teams. I love that they're still keeping it friendly. I really enjoy that they do have that first preseason game, but they're still going to get together and try to improve because, let's be honest, Cincinnati's one of those teams that's always been good but could never get over the hump. And they want to do that extra bit. And the Vikings are a team that they're out and they're hungry to get some respect. Yes, they won their division. Yes, they made the playoffs. But they still have a lot to prove. I mean, this is a franchise that has never won a Super Bowl, that has struggled for several years. I mean, aside from that one magical Favre year, it's been really rough.
It's good. I like the joint practices. You're able to get in a lot of extra work because they have two fields side by side one another, and they got the ones against the ones on one field, and then on the opposite field they got the twos against the twos for each respective team. And so just that fact alone, usually when you go to training camp, you know, you have your ones against your ones on offense and defense, and then the rest of the guys are just kind of standing around and watching, and they're not getting reps in. This is an excellent way to maximize, and you're getting reps for, you know, your first team. You're getting them ready, you're getting them into football shape, you're working on the cardio, you're working on whatever, but you're getting the really important reps for your twos and your threes, because those are your guys that they're going to make up your special teams. They're going to be your backup players when the inevitable injuries happen. And maybe, hey, all of a sudden you're relying on a TJ Clemmings to go out there and start for you that you don't know that you're going to have to rely upon. So I really like these joint practices. And I'm excited to see that a lot of teams in the NFL are kind of going to doing this a little bit.
It's very interesting that you mentioned the right tackle position, because Andre Smith, the new starter there, former Cincinnati Bengal, he'll be facing off against his former teammate Dunlap. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
It sure
and
is.
Let's be honest, Smith hasn't had the best track record lately at right tackle. He's been struggling, but this year they've been working him hard. They got him in an offense with Adrian Peterson involved. You got a young quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater that needs that protection. So he will be one of the hottest spots to watch. And this game, since he's going up against a familiar foe, could be one of the biggest struggles or biggest successes he ever has. So it'll be interesting to watch how he handles all this.
He's got to get ready because he's the guy for Minnesota right now.
He is. He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's the guy.
He's the guy. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Friday for that game. Then we got a little training camp preview here from Kyle.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about training camp. I was up there over the weekend, and it's always entertaining. I've been up there. I think we counted. I think this is my 10th year in a row that I've been up to training camp. So you see lots of players come and lots of players go. I don't really want to get into breakdowns and specific things, because I've been up there enough to know that training camp is training camp, and that doesn't always necessarily negate to success in the preseason. Because, hey, I remember watching Tavares Jackson, where T-Jack looked like the second coming of Michael Vick when he was in training camp. And that didn't quite work out that way. And I remember seeing Christian Ponder hook up with Jerome Simpson, and that looked like a fantastic connection that just never quite happened. So you kind of got to take it with stride a little bit. What I wanted to talk about was the amazing opportunity that we got to go see U.S. Bank Stadium. We got a chance to tour U.S. Bank Stadium, where we were let in the door and we were told, just go wherever you want. Wherever you want to go. If the door is unlocked, that means you can go through it.
Man, I would have been there for 12 hours.
Well, they had a time limit on us, and they gave us free food. So, what do you guys want to know about US Bank Stadium? Because I got to see everything. I was on field level. I was in the players' locker room. I was all the way up at the top. I was in private suites. I got to see it all. So what do you guys want to know about it?
How awesome are the new urinal troughs?
It's amazing. Adam, it is amazing. I got to pee in US Bank Stadium, and there are no troughs. There are
Oh,
there are dividers between every single urinal, and there are lots and lots of places to poop.
nice.
So my question is, and this was coming from players, obviously the guys that built it. There was a lot of people saying there's not a bad seat. Is there a bad seat there?
I was all the way up at the top, at the very, very top, as high as you could go, clear in the back, and you are looking essentially almost straight down at the field. And yeah, you're way high up, so things are small. It's a big stadium. But there's nothing obstructing your view. There are no poles, there are no obstacles in your way. The way it's built, it's just amazing. There are no bad seats in this stadium. And it's really cool because we were joking that, we're all poor. We ain't going to be able to afford the tickets that are down at field level for the next 15 years because they're going to be expensive. So when I go to a game, I'm going to be stuck clear up top, but you're still going to be able to see, and it's still going to be an amazing experience.
I'm still trying to find tickets for that home opener, and wow.
The video boards, I have some photos that I'll post here. I don't even know how to explain because it gets lost in the size and the scope of everything. Just how big it is when you're there in person. And the video boards are just gigantic. And you can see them no matter where you are. And I forget what the number of screens that we had talked about before on the podcast is a quick hit. Just as you're going around and going through like the concession areas into the bathrooms and whatever, there are just flat screen monitors everywhere. Everywhere you go, you're going to be able to see the game. And every corner you go around, there's something cool that you're looking at, and something unique and something interesting. Whether it be, the Bud Grant has his own like concession area that's dedicated to Bud Grant. You run into that, or you run into areas where there's artwork just all over the place, and it's all Minnesota Vikings related. And that's what's so fun and so cool about US Bank Stadium is everything is purple and gold, and it's Minnesota Vikings. And yeah, you can use it for other things and concerts and soccer games and whatever, but it's football oriented, and it's the home of the Minnesota Vikings, and you can't mistake it for anything else. And it's so super neat.
Well, let's talk about US Bank Stadium for a second because there's something I don't have in the quick hits that I just got reminded of. Now, US Bank Stadium, as you said, will be home to some concerts.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most notable concerts is the upcoming Metallica, Avenged Sevenfold, and one other band, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the other one, but it's definitely Metallica.
But I believe it is what's the name of that website? But anyway, the concert will be live streamed, so you can watch it and see everything that's going on there in US Bank Stadium. Watch the concert, see how it all pans out. We will try to get a nice link to that because that should be something really cool for both Vikings fans and fans of that hard rock music.
Oh, and it's such a cool stadium, guys. I mean, we've been to, at least me and Adam have, we've been to the old Metrodome. And the Metrodome was fun. It was a fun building. And yeah, it was outdated, but it was still home of the Vikings, and it was fun. But you go, as soon as you step in to the US Bank Stadium, you're just in awe of everything. And everything is it's so Viking-centric. And it's so nice. And I was back on the end where you can look out through the open end of the stadium and you can see the Minneapolis skyline. And it's just breathtaking. It's just, you just haven't seen anything like this. And it's so massive. You stand underneath it and you just look up and it just keeps going and going and going. It's such a cool stadium.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see some more of those pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the social media question, Scott Schwab says the link is on the Vikings website, so we'll find that and share it on over. Scott Schwab was talking about how NFL ranked the Vikings number 8 in their power rankings, and he says that he thinks what should rank a team is not only the offense, defense, and special teams, but the coaching ability to create a talented depth chart. And we saw that problem with the Vikings of old as well. Teams were put together based on seniority and locker room politics. It wasn't really based on ability at all, so that's definitely gonna be a big change.
That's a great point there, Scott. I agree with you. I think number 8 is actually a pretty respectable position for the Vikings to be in.
8 is some respect. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so this week's social media question, we tried something a little different. We went with something quite controversial. We got a couple responses of people who didn't care for the question, and we get it. You never want to think about getting rid of your quarterback, especially if you think he's a franchise guy. But we posed you guys the question, is if you could have Tom Brady for 2 years or Teddy Bridgewater for the rest of his career, what would you pick and why? Now, keep in mind that this is something that's absolutely polarizing because it depends on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on your opinion of Tom Brady. Depends on your opinion of Teddy Bridgewater. You've also got the 2-year window compared to the entire career. There was a lot of things going on here and a lot of different reasoning as to why you could pick which player you wanted. Some people that commented, they did not want to make that decision and they just said it was a stupid question, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but we also did have a lot of people who made a decision and told us why. Jack Andrews said Brady's a crybaby. That is at the end of his career. That would likely be like trading in a new Corvette for an 82 Gremlin. Teddy's numbers are better than anything we've had in over 10 years. We had Alex Zeller says that he would absolutely do the trade. It would elevate the offense to match an elite defense. He would destroy teams with play action. It's a short-term thing, but you would probably be an instant favorite for the Super Bowl. John Dostal says Brady's just as bad as Teddy when they're under pressure, and without Gronk or Moss, Brady is a game manager. Also, Brady would throw a fit if he had to hand the ball off to Adrian 30 times a game. That's a good point. Jonathan Craze says, nope, this would be a typical Vikings quarterback move, and I hate everything about it. No long-term return. If we do make it to the big show and then somehow by a miracle do break the curse, Brady retires, and then where are we? I'm more interested in a team that has young talent and is poised to compete for years to come. I'm also more interested in seeing if the Vikes develop a young and promising quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater into a star. Tim Sanders says, nope, Brady to the Vikings would be like Moss from New England to the Vikings. Big ego, past their prime, and totally different offense. Teddy's young and moving up. That's what we need right now. Nick Anderson, personal friend of mine who's a big listener. I went to high school with him. Awesome guy. Supports everything I do. Thanks, Nick. He says, my opinion is that Brady turned out the way he is now because he's a Patriot. If he were to have a harder legacy team, I feel that he would be one of the most celebrated quarterbacks around. I don't what he was talking about through college, though. Maybe he was a pretty boy then. And number 2, he said, I really couldn't see this happening because New England folk, especially Bostonians, are mental over the Pats. They'd be wicked pissed. They would, too. And I don't want to have my team play him at least twice a year. He's a Packer fan, so you got to forgive him for that.
My favorite, right underneath that.
That's where I'm going right now, Mike Leonard. Nothing against Teddy, but I'd do the trade. In this fictitious situation, you have to notice that currently Teddy is not a Super Bowl quarterback, and Tom is. This situation only works on maybe 2 quarterbacks, Tom and Aaron. I'm not saying that Teddy won't be a Super Bowl quarterback. He's just not one today. And that was what we were trying to get the point through with the question. He picked it up absolutely perfectly. Gregory Ganaway says Brady would have to come with Bill, and it would take at least 2 years for the rest of the offense to catch up, so no thanks. And that is true. I mean, the offensive system would have to be more catered to Brady's strengths. And 2 seasons may not be enough to take care of all that. Corbin Johnson says, except I think Tom Brady could bring the Vikings what they need to get over the hump and win the Super Bowl. John Johns, we love John Johns. And one of these times we are going to get John Johns on the show because he is a super fan with some great opinions, and we love him. But he says no, hell no. For one, Tom Brady's integrity has been tainted, and I don't want that on my team. Number two, Teddy's the man. I have total faith in him. And that was the answer that I was expecting from most fans, to be honest. Thomas Beers says, no way, Teddy has too much upside. Even if Tom did get us 2 titles, I don't think we could find another guy like Teddy. Megan says, this is such an unfair question, and Brady is my backup quarterback. We know that, Megan, we know you love Teddy and you love Brady. You're just like Mr. Smith. You've got love for both these guys, and that's what makes it extra hard. Jacob Knopf says, no, because we can win 1 bowl in the next 2 years without him, plus we would have Teddy for years to come. Benny Myers says no with a big exclamation point, all caps. He doesn't like that one bit. Robert McGregor says except we'd have 2 Super Bowls. He feels pretty strongly about that. Now, this question, we just wanted to test the waters with it to see what people would think. And we didn't mean to get some people upset, but that's bound to happen. We do get some crap, too, sometimes for being too much of a nicey nice smile unicorns puppies kind of show. So we wanted to test the waters with something a little bit more scandalous as well, but we got some good fun answers. Some people didn't care for it too much, but
That's okay.
yeah, you got to win some to lose some, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a fun question. It's a fun question. I like it because it makes you think, and it makes you kind of put your fandom aside a little bit.
Yeah, we're definitely fans, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's pouring really hard in Minneapolis right now. It's raining really hard here. I had to close up my house. There's flood warnings here, so if you're hearing some pounding, that's what that is. It's not the good kind. Bad kind.
PG, Adam.
I didn't say anything bad. Yeah, pound that steak, tenderize it.
I apologize if I cut out. I'm down to 9% here. We'll go into. I wanted to throw my 2 cents. I definitely like that. Everyone got some of those stuff. You guys have to understand. Like Adam said, Adam can speak for the whole program. I'll jump in with just my opinion. I think this was a great question. I think it did exactly what it was supposed to do. I think we're all responses. So the more you guys get involved, the more we can give you shout-outs on the show and stuff like that. Nobody here on the show thinks Teddy sucks and we should trade for Tom Brady. We're saying this in a mythical, crazy world that it's not reality that we live in. No, we're not going to the model. But we like to do crazy questions like that sometimes. So thank you for everybody for giving us your humble, honest opinions. To do that every time. We enjoy it.
Absolutely, and we have no problem talking negative. If we believe something's negative, we will say it's negative. Cordero Patterson, we don't quite see his role. Some of us like some players on the offensive line more than others. It's just a matter of opinion. That's all sports is.
We talked ad nauseum about Christian Ponder when he was the starting quarterback of the team, and how we all reached a point where we were just over Christian Ponder, and we still had to do shows and talk about him. And I mean, it's not all sunshine and roses.
I admit, back in the day when we were still trying to get our voices and get things organized, I'd try to keep it a little more positive, but it's not like we're out fishing for scandalous topics or anything like that. We're just trying to start some discussions. That's all. And speaking of discussions, we're going to be talking about some wide receivers with your next social media question. The preseason's coming up, 4 games. Friday is the first, of course, against the Bengals. But we're wondering, who will be the Vikings' leading receiver in receiving yards during the preseason? There's some pretty good options, a lot of fun ones, and not the one that Kyle West wrote.
That was awesome.
Yeah, you gonna be Bernard Berrien?
It's not going to be Bernard Berrien unless something really crazy happens.
That's who it's going to be.
But do you remember when Ocho Cinco had his TV show
Mm-hmm.
and Bernard Berrien was like his entourage?
No, I don't.
Absolutely hilarious. If you go back and watch his show, it's funny to watch B twice there.
You remember when everyone wanted Chad Johnson to the Vikings?
Oh no. I think the
Yeah.
audio feedback is echoing. That's not good.
All right, I'm going to turn mine down. I'm going to jump into the computer dies so I can get this one in, since I haven't done a bold statement in a couple of weeks. Colin Cowherd from Fox Sports 1 made the comparison for all 32 quarterbacks. He said about 22 of them mirror each other, so that would be 11 quarterbacks mirroring another 11. The first quarterback he mentions is Teddy Bridgewater. It's on his Facebook page under his videos. It's really, really interesting stuff. And he said that Teddy Bridgewater essentially is Matt Ryan. They're both mature. They had 3 years in college. Arm strength is questionable. And if you put a ton of talent around them, they can take you to the Super Bowl and win. I think this is a spot-on, 100% accurate in my opinion comparison. I do believe Teddy is going to need to have a stellar wideout. I do believe he's going to have a defense much like the Panthers or the Broncos of last year. Of course, you guys go back a couple years, Seattle. But I do think that he gets the title of game manager as in a negative way. But you have to look. I'm looking at Matt Ryan's stats right now. He has 2 seasons with 28 touchdowns, which is fair. 1 season with 29. In 2012, I believe they went to the NFC Championship game that year. 32 touchdowns, 14 picks. The guy is not a bad quarterback. He doesn't stand out to you because everybody wants to have, I guess, if you had to pick a quarterback right now, an Aaron Rodgers or a Cam Newton team. There's just not that many freaks of nature that play quarterback in this world that can do that for us. So you have to take what you can get and look at the positive in there. And I think this was an excellent comparison. And my bold statement for the week is Teddy Bridgewater can be Matt Ryan. And you know what? That's okay. If we get the pieces around Teddy Bridgewater and we let him excel at what he's good at, let him do the things that he does best, which I love. One of the best things about him is not turning the ball over. That's crucial. If this defense gets to that elite tier, which I think they're really close to breaking into, the defense will force the turnovers. Teddy won't have turnovers. That's going to mean a lot of football games are going to come out. That's my bold statement for the week.
I gotta admit, when I first heard this, I did not think much about. Yeah, I hear the echo too when I talk now. But I didn't think much about how Matt Ryan was very much like Teddy Bridgewater. It struck me as a really odd comparison. Then when he started running down their college careers, some of their physical traits and things like that, I started agreeing. I mean, if you would have came at me and said, Teddy Bridgewater's a lot like Matt Ryan, I'd been like, nope. But watching the show, I put it together and I was like, okay. Maybe he's not too far off here. And a Matt Ryan type quarterback in a run-first offense with a strong defense, and if he can get, that Julio Jones kind of guy, well, Adrian Peterson is still around. Good things are going to happen.
I think the biggest takeaway from that was pieces, and I think the way we've drafted, I think the coach that we have, I think the mentality that everybody has, I don't think that's a bad thing to have. There's been far crazier things and far worse teams that have won football games. So you guys can take that. It's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. And that's all I have for this week. I do want to remind you guys to head on over to yahoo.com's Fantasy Sports. We are running our Survival Football League again. Go on over there, sign up, League ID 241, password SKOL, all caps. We're going to be giving away some prizes. I believe Mr. West has something ready. Mm-hmm. I've already started ordering some of the pieces, and I got a really nice piece that I'm eyeing up for you guys. So it's something I have myself, and I use all the time. So I highly recommend you go sign up. We're not charging you anything this year. Last year we did it for free, but we asked for some contributions for our audio. This year we're going to take care of that fee ourselves because we can. Last year I couldn't. This year I can. And with help from Mr. Smith, I was able to cover that fee. Good stuff there. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Hey, man, I love this show.
Together, we will keep this rolling. I can't believe that we are 212 episodes in, and we are rolling really, really well. So much fun. So much fun. On that note, I want you to check out my stuff over on the Viking Age. Like I said, with preseason approaching, I'm going to be doing a lot of preview, review kind of stuff. And as always, you'll have my regular analysis, articles about long snapper re-signings, all the important stuff, all at your fingertips. Over on Undead Walking, we have Fear the Walking Dead starting back up soon, and I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, and I'm not going to tell anyone else this, so don't spread this around. I'm actually more excited for the second half of Fear the Walking Dead Season 2 than I am Season 7 of The Walking Dead. And that's bold right there. That's bold.
I am not to turn it into a Walking Dead podcast, but I agree with you, Adam, even though I'm not watching Fear the Walking Dead. But the coming season of Walking Dead, I'm a little bit, meh.
I'm not even soured on the next season of The Walking Dead. It's Fear the Walking Dead that just absolutely blew me away. I was so bought in to the mid-season finale, and then that Comic-Con trailer, it just set me on fire. Watching it, it's like it was like feeling From Dusk Till Dawn if you've ever watched that movie. I love that movie.
It's one of my favorite movies.
And it just has that feeling. I love it. So head on over, check that out for all your zombie needs. You've got the podcast here, which is always great. We always love it if you hit subscribe on us on YouTube. So hopefully we can do away with this Google Hangout stuff in the future.
Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies. Get them to like
tell
us
everybody.
on YouTube. Hit that
Even if you don't know them,
button.
let them know. They'll figure it out. KyleWestPhotography.com. Buy some cool prints. He's got lots of awesome stuff, and I think he's going to be putting even more stuff up now from training camp and US Bank Stadium.
I got some cool ones. As soon as I get my computer fixed, I can get them up. I got some cool shots of US Bank Stadium.
Yeah, he's already got a lot of other stuff there, like a big squirrel you can get on a throw pillow if you want.
You sure can. I've sold one of those.
Good stuff. And then you got Mr. Smith, who will give you all his YouTube music information as well as his Facebook music page. So take it away, Mr. Smith.
All right, I've got about 30 seconds to that. Computer died. Facebook.com/StakeOut. Thank you to everybody who shared my latest video. I got up to 10,000 views on it. It was nuts. So thank you for that. YouTube.com/C/C/Cal Smith KOW. That's my. I play a lot of covers. I'm not talking about the Vikings. Thank you guys for checking that out. If you want to, there might be a song on there that you might want to hear.
Absolutely. He's always open to requests. If you got something awesome you want to hear him try.
Slipknot.
Slip in the knot.
Mm-hmm. I think we just lost him.
That's exactly where his battery died. Worked out perfect.
You could not have timed that better if you tried.
On that note, I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and remember to stay classy, Minnesota.